the news keeps on rolling, and starting off this week with what could be the first for this channel, someone decided to respond to a quote-unquote game journalist. The director of Outer Worlds 2, Brandon Alder, told Games Radar, "We're a game developer. We love to make games. We don't set the prices for our games. Like, personally, as a game developer, I wish everybody could play my game because that's what I want out of this whole thing. But for the reasons it's so like, why the $80 price point? We'd have to honestly talk to the Xbox folks." This kind of reminds me of a certain individual who tried to justify the price point of his game, but in the end, this reflected badly on him, as well as caused it to come off as him just shrugging and saying, "Not our problem." GameSpot also made an article that is literally just huffing copium, while trying to justify the re-release of a game and just adding one to the label. The article will be in the source if someone wants to read it. I personally wouldn't recommend it. Moving on, Gearbox revealed that the price of Borderlands 4 is going to be $70. However, Kotaku, as usual, is trying to defend corporations. And to quote GamerGeek, he said it better I could ever, really. Actually, it proves the opposite. How much money do you want to bet that drama was the only reason? It didn't cost $80. Kotaku once again showing just how quote-unquote great their journalism is. Remember, the only reason why fans thought it was $80 to begin with was because Randy did his "back in my days" speech and mentioned a $80 price. Ultimately, Kotaku is so corpo-pilled at this point that they counted the amount of words Randy used in his apology and tried to convince people that the drama was pointless. Just consume slop and be happy. Kotaku probably. In other news, Warhammer 40k Space Marine, the Master Crafted Edition, managed to get a total of 91 reviews, and they are mostly negative. The game promised higher fidelity, improved textures, 4K resolution, better character models, a modernized control scheme with interface overhaul, and remastered audio. So, what went wrong? Well, first off, it wasn't given to the people who owned the original copy for free, like how it was done with Stalker Enhanced Edition. It costs €40 or 40 freedom bucks if you're curious. Mind you, the Anniversary Edition costs €36, same as in USD, and has gone on a 70% discount regularly for the past 3 months. Not to mention the Steam Summer Sale is coming up, and if it's anything like last year, it's most likely gonna get discounted again. Secondly, the game became a buggy, janky mess, with worse UI, odd visual changes, and no dedicated servers alongside with new jank and bugs that were added with the re-release, according to the user Kitsune Links on the Space Marine subreddit. How the hell do you manage to mess this up? Third and finally, finishing off the main reasons why this failure of a remake/remaster flopped, and I'm kind of pushing the limits on a remake remaster here, is because of performance issues compared to the old releases. One does not simply break a 13-year-old game, but, Sneaky Box managed to achieve it, and Sega gave them a helping hand, it seems, as they published this excuse of a game. Yeah, Sega, not Relic Entertainment, the original developer and publisher of the game. Moving on, OSRS's Pride event is being scaled down, and to no one's surprise, the Screeching Harpies are mad at the game for it. The new CEO, John Bellamy, pushed to have the event culled, even though there was an internal pushback, in order to focus on other content and avoid potential backlash from people who see this event as woke. Pink News had an anonymous employee report that the new CEO informed the team that on the 25th of April, RuneScape and even OSRS would not run their usual Pride Month events. The new CEO, like the badass he is, maintained that devs should focus on what players want. He also said, and I quote, "I want to be clear, the decision for this is with me. I own it. I'm fully responsible for it." Well, that's a refreshing turn of events. Unlike some companies in the AAA game industry, the guy is taking responsibility instead of dispersing it across the studio. I can respect that. If you're wondering who the Screeching Harpies are, PC Gamer did the job for me and compiled them into a nice post that I don't have the sanity to read into. But the TLDR is most likely the old RuneScape subreddit that's angry. Red or blue sky. Or maybe both. I wouldn't be surprised. This segues us right into Square Enix supporting whole Pride stuff. They're dropping Pride Month stuff, and honestly, if you didn't pick up the sarcasm, I'm gonna have to try better than this. Shockingly, it has comment disabled. Yeah, I hope the sarcasm came through. It has more retweets than likes, which literally screams that people are not liking what they see, considering there is also 290,000 views with less than 400 likes. Oh, the inhumanity! This isn't the only thing that's happening with Square Enix though. Bravely Default is an RPG game from Japan and it's published by Square Enix. And the English port will contain censorship because some outfits are considered inappropriate for Western audience? The left side is the updated version while the right side is the original. You tell me if it's inappropriate or not. Square Enix ethics department is inventing problems where there are none yet again. Moving on, and something that I didn't expect to happen, Dark One is stepping down from Nexus Mods. Creator of Nexus Mods posted it after 24 years of running Nexus Mods, it's time to step back from the day-to-day management of the site. Then further goes on about how he started a project and how it grew starting from 2001. And while yes, it was good back in the day, activism filled the website. Like for example, the original body type mod for Oblivion. That's a big example. Stellar Blade. I'm pretty sure I discussed this earlier, but anyways, you get the point. There are other cases, but it will take too much time to get into it. He further writes that he's been on a call every day, doing everything from fixing issues, reading feedback, pushing updates, or dealing with community drama to the point where he forgets to breathe or sleep properly. Okay, tell me you're not obsessed with pushing your message without telling me. This caused him a source of anxiety and stress-related health issues, and after months of meetings, face-to-face talks, and a whole lot of soul-searching, he claims to have found the exact right people to replace him. Dark One did mention that the values or direction of the platform will not change. The new owner didn't reveal himself, which caused a search into who acquired the website. Translation: the site is getting more of the same, but this time it will most likely be corporate. The user randomly-random67, alongside a few other members, discovered that the company that acquired Nexus Mods is called Chosen, which is an investment firm that focuses mainly on maximizing profitability. The new site owner pinned his own message answering a small amount of questions like if mods will be sold, and he stated, and I quote, "No, mods will always remain free," and he did mention free accounts will stay the way they are. However, he didn't get into the drama with mods being removed if that would happen again because of activism that the website has been pushing for. Looking a bit around, a lot of people agree with the user John_117 that they will only believe it when they see it. And even before the new owner is revealed, people were skeptical with the transaction. You can't really blame them if you're getting more of the same stuff with a company that's focused on maximizing profitability. People will be skeptical about the new owner no matter how you look at it. On the bright side, DG mods and Ayaka mods don't censor their mods, so there will be a place for modders to upload mods even though, or more likely when, Nexus Mods gets enshittified into submission. Moving on, Sony is committing to marathon and fair games. During Sony's business presentation, the CEO confirmed that he is committed to building a, quote, diverse and resilient portfolio. And I just want to say, even Eurogamer put diverse and resilient in quotation marks. Think of that what you will. Anyways, this portfolio includes marathon and fair games, even though they had high-profile live service failures in the past. Almost as if they can't learn from it. The CEO also said that he is building on the success of games like Helldivers 2 and Destiny 2 for future projects, and also mentioned, "We are looking forward to showing our progress with Marathon." He also called the game innovating and bold, even though Sony themselves admitted that it was quote-unquote varied, which is code word for mediocre at best. My favorite part is that he didn't compare it to Concord, which would make Marathon look like a 10 out of 10 by comparison. As for fair games, nothing was really shown of it, considering the recent delay because the studio founder left. That's not surprising. On the 17th of June this year, they did make an update for Marathon and they decided to delay it until the 23rd of September. They did also say that they are using quote-unquote this time to empower the team to create the intense high-stakes experience that a title like Marathon is built around. Yeah, good luck with that. The only thing they cover is what they will focus on. However, this is vague and I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt, really. If you want to know what they are doing is gonna be up on the screen. You can pause it and read it for yourself. The only thing that isn't vague is proximity chat, which is something they didn't want to add originally because it was quote-unquote too toxic. It's gonna be in Marathon. Hey, yo, Toxicity, are you here? Oh wait, you haven't seen a COD lobby, have you? Moving on, Firebreak released and it's struggling to grab players at the peak of nearly 2,000. But it missed it by 8 players, at least as of recording, and it has a rough estimate of 25,000 copies owned. Currently, it's sitting at mixed on Steam at 64%. Hell, critics aren't even giving it a good review either, with an average of 66, and this is one of the rare cases where both users and critics agree that the game is mediocre. I like to think that nature is healing, but the cynic in me thinks that they couldn't make something up to defend it and just copy what the majority of gamers think about the game. Keep in mind, this is the same studio that made Alan Wake 2, Control, and Max Payne. And it could turn itself around with care, and if that were to happen, I'll cover it, but the X button is being spammed a lot at the moment. In other news, Ubisoft decided it will be a smart idea to slow down the currency gained in Rainbow Six Siege to a pathetic crawl, then drop the most expensive skin in 10 years. The Reddit user Flower Ray posted 108 renown with 10% boost after one full game of Defender does not feel rewarding, with people in the comments agreeing with him and another user commenting free-to-play players will never be able to spend renown on shop items, and that's the goal. They want people to be forced to pay. Unfortunately, this means that also people who paid are being forced to suffer the same excruciatingly low payouts. It's a slap in the face to longtime fans. Couldn't agree more. To try to appease the player base, Ubisoft introduced 2 new ways of earning renown. 1,000 for leveling and 500 for playing 2 matches per day, but this feels more like spitting in people's faces rather than actually fixing the issue. Keep in mind the skin costs $50 and an average game is between 15 to 45 minutes from what I could find online. So let's say it's 30 minutes per match, a nice middle ground, easy to work with. You get 108 renown with a 30% boost. That means the boost adds roughly 32 renown. So, 32.4 if you want to be accurate, but I'll keep things simple just to make the math easier. So, that makes 76 renown for a match. Now, let's say you play 10 matches at a 30-minute length. This puts it at a 5-hour session. So you're getting 760 renown for a 5-hour session. If you win all the matches. Meanwhile, a year ago you were getting 200 renown for a loss, or about 500 without a boost for a win. From what I managed to gather, at least. Make of that what you will. Moving on, Tales of the Shire is supposed to be a cozy game set in Middle-earth, but people are not liking it. With the trailer getting 1.7k likes and 1.5k dislikes, the very first comment I see is, and I quote, "The Lord of the Rings game? That sentence is an abomination." And another person saying, "It's not a gameplay trailer. Surprise, surprise." However, it seems that this game got a competitor. The Sims 4's new DLC, Enchanted by Nature, is gonna release a few weeks before Tales of the Shire. While Game Rant also admits it's not a one-on-one, the content the DLC adds and other content from the game itself is enough to compete with the title. If you were curious, the DLC has 50k likes and 1.7k dislikes on their YouTube channel, with more than 20 times the viewers. Naturally though, the moment journalists start looking at stuff and an objectively defensive mechanism triggers, forcing them to take a step back and take their corporal pills. GamesRant tries to defend the game by saying it has charm and copes that the previous delay has worked to the game's advantage. But the people spoke when it came to the trailer, and you can't silence the people. And we're back to the Veilguard's post-mortem. Again. DEI the Veilguard somehow keeps coming back every week, with the media just refusing to let it rest in whatever piece it may find. The hit piece made by The Gamer says that fans of the Dragon Age series are apologizing to the writers. Clearly, this writer hasn't seen Angry Joe's review of the game. Spoiler alert, Angry Joe is a longtime fan of the Dragon Age series. The article instantly lies by saying that reviews were great across the board, and by claiming that Veilguard is more stable than any other recent game. You can instantly confirm this by going to Metacritic and seeing the user ratings. It's like these people just can't let the game die in peace. Come on, enough already, will ya? Now, let's look at who is apologizing to the writers, because it only linked one Reddit post, and it didn't include the comments that they were talking about. The post they linked claimed that Corinne Bush saved Veilguard from a far worse fate, and we quote, "owe her an apology," but didn't provide any evidence to back up OP's claims. And doing a little bit of Google searching, it's just a singular post where the comments were made about this apology. And writing about. Yeah, this post is just the same thing that journalists keep pushing every time this game is brought up. Jesus. Looking at one of the quotes PC Gamer used, the user said, and I quote, "I tended to put the blame on the Trinity, John Epler, Corinne Bush, and lead writer Trick Weeks for the game's tone and writing, and thus its failure. And you, my friend, should have kept up with it, because those three are responsible for basically the whole game and how it goes. Those three could have made something different and refused. Instead, they used a big IP to inject modern politics into the game, and EA refused to stop them." To finish this off, the journalist brings up that Bush joined the director's team back in 2022, when most of the creative decisions were made, and because of that, we shouldn't blame her. The mental gymnastics some people go through is scary, to say the least. How the hell can you say we shouldn't blame someone who was part of the team when the creative decisions were made? This guy is having his own copium supply, it seems. Moving on, the new James Bond game, 007 First Light, is pandering to modern audience. Man, who could have seen that coming? The Rolling Stone article goes into James Bond's lore, so I'm gonna skip ahead of that and actually focus on the game. It follows a young Bond before he obtained his 00 status. It's even before the opening scene of 2006's Casino Royale, where he earned his call sign. It also introduces a new and original supporting cast and a new take on the Bond series. Please no, let's go back to how the old takes were. They fit better with Bond. Rolling Stones isn't the only one who covered this. Games Rant also had an interview with the art director Rasmus Poulsen, and the director confirmed that the younger Bond was an intentional choice. He also claims that the inexperienced Bond would, and I quote, match the experience of a young audience and avoid any potential narrative dissonance. Paulson also mentioned that the direction of Bond's story is, quote, spirited but maladjusted young man who is trying to find his way, apparently. Who wants to play a secret agent that's maladjusted? No, seriously. Give me the post-Casino Royale Bond any day of the week. Side note, Amazon owns the James Bond IP. The studio making the game is the same that made the Hitman franchise. Make of that what you will. And in some good news, Mecha Break managed to reach 202k followers and is in 4th place on Steam's wishlist. This game also releases in 8 days on the 2nd of July, so all signs point to a good launch. The game also had a demo that managed to peak at 317k players and managed to retain about 100k players during the majority of the demo. This is impressive if you also compare it to something similar like Marvel Rivals, where the peak player count was 644k players with just over 97k players for the last 24 hours. Moving on to people being unhappy because nice things exist. Some people just can't let men have attractive women in video games. Friends on Twitter posted 3 Steam discussions, one calling Stellar Blade a porn game, the second asking for a mod that makes the game less sexual, and the third talking about the male gaze and objectification of women. The third one especially comes off as the dude trying to shame people because of Eve's natural appeal. Your boos don't frighten us, we've seen what makes you cheer! Before I continue, it's fine if you want to date an inanimate object, go for it, or even be excited for bear sex, but don't trash another person's taste unless you're ready to receive the same treatment. Now that that's out of the way, journalists are naturally on this too. Joshua Wallens, the reason why I named him, will become apparent later, made an article calling Stellar Blade the Gunner Game of the Year. Naturally, he mentioned the nude mods and did specific calculations, fully counting the 96 out of 234 mods, which is basically 41%, are marked for adults. Not only that, but he asked if we would like to discuss this with our grandparents over Christmas dinner. I don't know about anyone else's grandparents, but mine wouldn't really care about a bunch of pixels on a screen, really. Now, the reason why I mentioned him in the first place is because he made an article about Baldur's Gate 3's companions and which real-life political compass they would be. This isn't the craziest one. There's more! When I originally found this article on Stellar Blade's discussions, people called him Bear Fucker. So I kept digging, and I found that he made an article calling the bear sex scene in Baldur's Gate 3, and I quote, an upward turn in momentum for the game. So let me get this straight. All chicks are bad, but the bear sex scene is good. Man, this guy's lost his meds on a hiking trail somewhere. This maniac of a human being also mentioned that no one knows what Stellar Blade is about, because every discourse is about the main character's butt, which is easily disproven if you browse the reviews for like 10 minutes, but like we all know that he's just mad at the game and didn't actually play it. Hell, the bear-obsessed maniac most likely didn't watch the playthrough of the game because it didn't have enough bears in it. The rest of the article can really be summarized with him just being angry at people being allowed to do whatever they want with their own copy of a game. Nobody should be criticized for what they do in their own game. It's been stated multiple times by multiple different people, but the mainstream media as per usual, we'll never learn. Molly Taylor also joined the Insane Asylum. She gave Stellar Blade a 68 out of 100 for Stellar Blade, but is excited to date her refrigerator, it seems. This journalist also compared the game to Nier, which, yes, I can see the comparison, but they also claim that it's horny on steroids. I think you should check your fridge. The milk might have spoiled. Journalists can't really sit down for 5 seconds without using the word horny or goon or anything along those lines, really. They did at least cover most of the game's features and a bit of the story, but ended with them mentioning sex appeal. Both of these people come off as extremely hypocritical and just petty at best, or off their meds at worst. I mean, this also could be the reaction because the CEO openly said that people are allowed to mod the game however they want. He has the mentality that other players bought the game. He has the mentality that once a player bought the game, it's their own to do what they want with. Not only that, but he basically challenged modders to ramp it up and calling their firepower lacking. The man is excited to see mods that expand the player's experience in a meaningful way. I mean, what's wrong about that? Remember, this game sold 1 million copies, which is 19 times faster than on PlayStation 5, which is 3 days after launch. Then on the 16th of June, they announced that over 3 million copies were sold. I mean, hats off to the CEO at the very least for being an actual human being. There is also another mad lad that asked Grok to compare the number of sex scenes in normal games versus the quote-unquote porn games that the journalists keep labeling it. DEI Veilguard has 7 while Stellar Blade has 0. Now, if this was Brazil, Germany, I would be worried. But anyways, make of that what you will. There are also other numbers which you can check on the screen or in the sources of the video. This just keeps proving that journalists will write anything to get people triggered so they can get a click, to show you ads so they can get money for their dying companies. Speaking of poor takes, Vice's article also can't fully admit that Stellar Blade is a good game. They do say that Stellar Blade broke records, but in the title alone, they claim it's all because the fanbase is thirsty. They didn't have anything noteworthy to say, however. LNGFRM is also another platform that is having a hard time swallowing the fact that Stellar Blade is successful. Yeah, shocker, I know. They claim that the title defied expectations, probably it's journalists' expectations, to be honest with you, since gamers knew what they expected when the PC port was announced. They also said, and I quote, "For years, PC gamers have watched with a mix of envy and anticipation as critically acclaimed PlayStation titles eventually graze their platforms. Nah, we just waited for Sony to realize they needed more money and to publish it on PC." To continue the quote from the article, "The promise was immense, a fresh, wave big budget experience for the ever-growing, quote, pile of shame in their digital libraries." Trying to actively shame people for enjoying games with attractive-looking women in them. Sounds like projection to me. They also tried to say that people claim that the game is just Nier Automata for dummies, which I couldn't find where the original source of the quote came from. So it's most likely pulled out of someone's ass. Lastly, this article also says that Stellar Blade embraces fan service with an unapologetic zeal and tries to frame it as a bad thing. Or to put it another way, stop making us look bad for trying to promote bad games. Not to be left out of this whole shit show, Paul Tassi also wanted to point out that the game is Asia focused, with prime time in the West being at a low point. He also put it in brackets that it's not a bad thing. Well, let me point at the previously mentioned 3 million copies sold. You just pointing it out sounds like you are indeed trying to say it's a bad thing. To finish this off and move on to the next topic, that I wish didn't appear this week again. Stellar Blade's Skin Suit Nude mod was removed from Nexus mods. At least the author will re-upload it to Ayaka mods. Crumbs also pointed it out. If this were a game mod, it would not have been banned by Nexus mods. Which I fully believe because Nexus mods did remove a Spider-Man mod that placed the pride flags with the American flag, so yeah, Stellar Blade is winning and quote-unquote game journalists are seething. You know, I hope that last week was the end of this nonsense, but here we go again. Some people can't just shut up. No fancy intros on this one. Karina, to no one's surprise, is retweeting people who are against talking about the union strike and what happened during it. And one individual is straight up mad at Goat Liffy and Mujin's videos covering it. Well, I haven't watched Goat Liffy's video. My editor has seen Mujin's video and can confirm that Mujin did not wrap the conversation into poison. Considering the fact that the source is the Discord they're a part of. So yeah, if anybody's doing any rapping, you know, Discord. They finished off the tweet by saying, and I quote, "This is a nothing burger." Jesus Christ, if it's a nothing burger, then why did you even post and comment on it? Sags defending doesn't end there, to which I thank Karina for making my job easier on collecting this stuff by just reposting them again and again and again and again up until infinity. Two more users posted how this strike turned into, quote, culture war, but at least I can agree with the person saying it's genuinely mind-blowing how stupid all of this is. Mainly because SAG keeps getting unpaid defenders. It's also stupid because no matter what we present at this point, this feels like just fighting a stubborn donkey while it screams at people calling them far-right grifters. Brother. Karina isn't the only one standing her ground though. Valeria Rodriguez is refusing to apologize. And I quote, "I got Hoyo fans bitching at me still about the drama. So, settle this once and for all, even though this really doesn't matter right now. I will not apologize. I'm not sorry. I feel negative remorse." Jesus, this is a little extreme, don't you think? But sadly, it continues. And I stand by what I said, which is 3 thumbs down emojis? Naturally, you can't reply to this unless she follows you or you get mentioned. What a surprise. She did also go on a rant, which is the norm at this point, but one thing stood out. She said, and I quote, "I truly believe the adult man knowingly stole a job from another adult man will be just fine regardless of what I think about him or comment on his posts. The dude didn't know anything about the strikes and you're still on about that? Just go out and touch grass at this point." Our brave captain here also decided to hide replies calling her out and just in general being on her side. Y'all can go read them for yourself if you like. I mean, you know what to expect there. Kaylee Mills also got informed that she'll be recast from her role as Keqing, or however you pronounce those Genshin funny names. She did say that it was because of scheduling reasons, and honestly, I still believe it's because she refused to work. I'm all down to give AI protections to voice actors, but she just went overboard with all of that. Naturally, there is glazing to be found in the comments. Sean Norway says that Kaylee was an amazing voice actor, which we definitely saw last week, right? Kit Harrison also thanked her for everything, which probably includes bullying Jacob Takanashi, if I were to speculate, but I don't want to go on and on because I have something called life. I mean, my sanity is long gone at this point thanks to this shit show. Paimon's VA is also getting replaced, and the collective Genshin community cried tears of joy the moment they found out. But surprisingly, Karina didn't post anything about it. Shocking, I know. Looking at the best comments, someone already mentioned what I was thinking. Mate, I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name, but you're a mad lad, you know that, right? And I quote, if they're gradually changing past voice lines for Paimon as well, whoever got the role is gonna have a lot of work in the future, lol. And the user Silva748 replied, and a fat paycheck, not to mention future con appearances with merch on top. Paimon is a golden goose of a role to land as a VA. Now, here's hoping none of the VAs go on a rampage next week. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if our blue sky hatred started from some of them or more VAs getting recast, but I'll leave it at that here. Like it if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, post comments, share, you know the drill. I'm out of here.